Hello, everybody, and welcome to the round 11 edition of the Collingwood BigFooty podcast. But you know what? Tonight and from now on, we're going to take it in a different direction. I'd like to introduce my co-host and my counterpart, GETSOMENUTS.
Hey, how you going, mate? Nice to be here.
Oh, it's great to be here. And we plan on partnering up in a kind of Ed and Derm situation, except with more talent and better looking. So
Yeah, well, that's it.
Absolutely. So tonight we're going to welcome you to the Nut House, and we feel that we're going to try and entertain you in a more contemporary manner, have a bit of fun, and really get into the deep stuff about the Collingwood Football Club. Nuts.
Yes, mate.
Let's have a look back at this week's game, because I don't know about you, but my balls were a bit busted on the weekend. It was rough watching at times.
It was, and I think we showed up for 30 minutes of football. The rest of the time was pretty lackluster. I don't know who the backline, of course. The backline was fantastic. I don't know who the rest of those guys were in Collingwood jumpers for 3 quarters, but they weren't our players. But yeah, like as I alluded to, the backline was fantastic. I think Nick Maxwell, mate, as he turned the clock back at he's in career best form in his final year.
It's a renaissance. He's just. He doesn't know where he's he doesn't know about age. It's almost like the Dustin Fletcher thing. You know,
should be called Benjamin Button.
Mate, I honestly think that in all of our wins this season, he's probably been in our top 3 to top 5 players.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You know, Loki, if you're listening, mate, I'm telling you, the guy's doing well. And I understand where some of the criticism is coming from. He is playing incredibly good football. Just onto a negative point, because this really, really irked me. The umpiring on Saturday was particularly appalling.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I don't want to ever say that it's an umpire's fault that we lost games or whatever else, because you leave that for teenagers and people who don't really know what they're on about. But this umpiring was exceptionally bad, and there was twice when I was flicking between press red for red and the regulation commentary.
Yeah.
And twice when Nick Nanui tapped it to himself in the ruck and got tackled. And I heard Peter Dacos say that is disgraceful.
Oh, and he's completely right.
That he was not pinged, not once, twice.
Yeah, and he's completely right. Sticking on Nick Nanui for a second, there was an incident in the third quarter where fair dinkum, right? He put a saddle on Brodie Grundy and rode him like a porn star, and was not penalised one bit. But I tell you, there's a little bit of scrounging, a little bit of push from Broads. No problem giving a free kick away, isn't it?
Mate, this happens. This is one of my bugbears, because I got Brodie Grundy in one of my Supercoach draft leagues.
Yep.
And, everyone has sort of given me heaps because, he gives away frees and this and that. And yes, he does, but I'm telling you what, he must have... Who's the umpires coach these days? Wayne Campbell?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, Wayne Campbell. He must have naked photos of that bloke, because he just does not get anything.
Oh.
The size... I really think it's a bit like Cloak, because he's so big. The umpires think that, like in Cloak's case, defenders can do whatever they like, and in Brodie's case, other ruckmen can sort of manhandle him because he's a big lad. They sort of let him get away with it. But as soon as he infringes going the other way, they call it straight away. And there's no, he really gets a raw deal. Like he does a lot of bad things as well. I'm not trying to say like he's an angel and should be getting looked after more, but because he's got a lot to learn. But he really does not get the rub of the green going back the other way.
Oh, it's just not a fair system, mate. Like the amount of free kicks the guy gets against him, and he's infringed and impinged upon just as much as anyone else. It's something that's really annoyed me since Darren Jolly came across. We have gotten a number of free kicks in the ruck against us that they come at just inopportune moments. It's an automatic clearance from the centre bounce. It's an automatic switch of possession wherever you are, and if the other team is in a position of strength, well, it's almost a goal. Every single time. I want to take some personal, just some personal time for a moment, because I think I contributed a great deal to the win on the weekend. Personally, I absolutely flamed and torched Jarryd Blair last week because I just didn't think he was doing enough to be in the best 22. Yep. The man came out, and boy, did he prove me wrong.
Yeah, he was our only avenue to goal, wasn't he? For the first 3 quarters, he bobbed up, did what he had to do, and he just keeps doing that, doesn't he? You look at him and you just think, too small, probably too slow, not great skills, but he just keeps bobbing up at the right time and, produces the goal or the goal assist or, whatever he does, he does right at that time, at the perfect time when it's needed. So good luck to the little man. Good luck to him.
He's a guy I'm going to criticise for a little while because it's not even his fault. It's just because we've got a number of guys younger than him that I believe are more talented. Now, I can't criticise his game on the weekend because I thought it was fantastic. But that's the kind of game he should be playing. Small forward, working off the big guys, taking opportunities, applying pressure. That's what he's good at. I think if he's not doing that role, then look, he's a defensive forward and Goldsack's a defensive forward. And I don't think we've got room for one of them in that forward line. Personally.
Yeah, probably. But Goldsack, you can send at both ends.
I know. So Goldsack, I'd rather see Goldsack play as the swingman, if not the permanent defender. I mean, we can talk about that a little bit later on because he is so versatile, and I thought he had a really great game on the weekend. But look, Blair's done a lot, and I get the feeling he's really appreciated down at the club. So,
no, it was good, and his little jab to Brown's ribs was good as well. So
it was a nice little shot, nice for him to get off. Reprimand.
So I was an advocate for him to be suspended because I believe that I don't care who you are, who you play for. If you're going to deliberately hit somebody off the ball and behind the play, that's what we want out of the game. We don't want to see that. Now, a lot of people in the forums said it was Brown. A lot of people called into question, whether how hard he was a bit soft, he was this and that. And I argued, well, you know what, if you're standing there and someone gives you a short, sharp one to the solar plexus, you're going to be doubled over as well. And, if you got him in the ribs, which it looks like he did, he could have cracked the rib, who knows, but that's just not what you want to see. And I really think that we should have sent a message, or the MRP should have sent the message of, you do that, you're going to go because we want deliberate acts out. We don't want incidental contact rubbed out, we want deliberate acts rubbed out.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Look, at the end of the day, I'm happy to see him get off because I'm happy to see him play and hopefully he plays well. But, it is things like that where you've just got to look and say there is so much inconsistency. And I look at the Gary Ablett verdict tonight. Elbow to the face was within the rules. I encourage you all to read the AFL's report on that because isn't that the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? Elbowing someone in the face within the rules. So
the report say it didn't actually collect him to the face. It was apparently hit him in the body.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was still deliberate, obviously, so it wasn't accidental.
Yeah, but when you're Chris Judd or Gary Ablett, you can do these sorts of things. It's all right, apparently.
Heaven forbid the Brownlow medalist, and he will be this year. Heaven forbid he is disqualified from his award. Look, you know what? It's the mixed bag that we deal with with the MRP, and it really hasn't been sorted out.
I'll tell you what, it's really is chook lotto. It really, really is. And as much as people can say, there's a system to it. You know what you're going to get. It's very easy. This is the formula. Blah blah blah. Yeah. And that's fine. But at the end of the day, you don't know how they're going to apply that formula.
No.
It's all well and good to know the numbers and know what you get per strike, low impact, blah, 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 all the rest of it. You know what, if all that's worth, and you know the parameters, that's fine. But you just don't know how these bullbeds are going to apply that logic and apply that system. So it really is chook lotto. And if I was Gill, after fixing up the prices of the footy, the first thing I'd do would be the second thing I'd do would be to scrap the MRP, get rid of it.
And they can take the video review system with them too.
Yep, and just reload with a new one and just go, because the actual applying of the points isn't the problem.
No.
It's the people applying that system that is the problem. So get those clowns out, get someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, get it cleaned up. And speaking of getting it cleaned up, there's one thing that we have failed to clean up as a club this year. I'll bring it back onto us and our football style, and even on the weekend, our forward line structure.
Oh, well,
licorice all sorts. And we've got two key position players who really aren't contributing a lot.
No. Like I said, Cloak, he's out of form, but he's getting raped every time he goes near the ball, or the ball comes near him. He's got, just for some reason, the umps think that it's okay for defenders to play like Silvani and have, arms all over him before the ball even arrives. We go back to the Geelong game, for instance, when Lonigan absolutely
manhandled him
in his shorts, and the umpires said that was, or the umpires' coaches said that was all well and good. There was nothing to see here. So if that's what you've got to deal with, then bugger me. But,
where do you think the problem is with our forward line at the moment?
I'd say it's with Skinny Lappin. I don't think the forward line has functioned very well for a long time since he's taken over, really. Yep. He took over from Buckley, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So I think since he's taken over, the forward line has not functioned well at all. I just don't think he's the man for the job in there. Look, basically that's as simple as it gets, I think.
I think for me, and I can't disagree with that, because it has been a bit of a shambles since he's come in. But look, he's got to be getting his directive from someone, and that someone has to be Bucks. So if it's a structural issue, it comes down to Buckley cleaning it up. For me, it's more of a personnel thing. I look at the forward line. Elliott is probably our most dangerous player down there, with the exception of Cloak. It's assuming Cloak's playing well.
Yep.
And then you've got Cloak, you've got Jesse White, the resting ruckman, which is currently most of the time Jarryd Witts.
Yep.
And then you've got two defensive forwards in Blair and Goldsack. Now, there isn't a lot of creativity amongst those players. It's not a dynamic forward line, and it's not a fast forward line. It's actually a little bit stagnant. There's not a lot of ball movement, and with the exception of going to the talls, there's no plan B. No one's a natural leading forward in that except for Jamie, and I love him, and he's played brilliantly this season. But I don't really enjoy the fact that he sometimes tries to do the unthinkable a bit too much. Sometimes the simple things are a bit better. But look, my thing is, and we're going to talk about the ruck situation. The big problem is the addition of that extra ruckman in that forward line, because it does make it, a very difficult proposition.
Yep.
When the ball comes down and you've got three guys there who are above 195 centimetres, who are all going for that high ball, who can't really crumb, well, you get a bit predictable. The opposition can drop another man behind. Yeah. They can afford to play a bit taller because they know that they can bounce the ball out like a trampoline, because it's not sure, there's two defensive forwards, but the pressure can't just come from two blokes.
Exactly right, exactly. And it's not all Cloak and White's fault.
No.
The delivery at times has been really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Now, I know David, Cloakey's old man, has said during the week, it's all the midfielders' fault, it's Bucks' fault, it's everyone's fault. It's not Travis's fault. So I think Travis has to, try to assert himself a little bit more. And as I pointed out, I think he's getting a bit of a raw deal at the minute, with defenders allowed to do as they please.
Yeah.
But he really has to try to find a new way to assert some authority on the game. And if he can't, then that's fine. Just as I put during the week, work like a lineman in the NFL, offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Just, take your two defenders, just get it down to ground. We need some crummers to get in there. As you said, we can't have two defensive forwards.
No.
But I think, talking quickly about the other resting ruckman, I think Witts has been pretty good at times. He hasn't been leading out and created a big target, but below his knees he's been very good, very clean.
Absolutely.
And he has quicker hands and quicker decision making than Grundy, I think.
Yep.
When you see Grundy with it, he sort of looks and, oh shit, what am I going to do now? And a couple of times against the Eagles, he turned it over.
Yep.
But I think Witts, under pressure, he picks it up pretty clean below his knees, and sort of as he's getting tackled, he'll find the target by hand. So he's been pretty good there. I wouldn't want to take him out.
Yeah.
I do see that in the last quarter, when White got moved into the ruck and Grundy had a rest on the bench, we looked far more dangerous. So it's time for Brodie to have a bit of a rest. We don't want to burn him out. So maybe give him a bit of a rest, especially against St Kilda.
Yeah.
Play White and Witts in the ruck.
There was one little passage of play I really loved in the last quarter. It was White in the ruck against Natanui, and around the corner of the pack was Grundy. The ball's gone up. Jesse's been able to compete with Natanui, and Grundy's come over the top and tapped it straight down to one of our midfielders. This is the versatility that someone like White gives that Witts probably doesn't. And I haven't. I'm in the same boat as you, man. I loved everything that Witts did on the weekend. Everything, with probably the exception of the ruck contest, because he was mismatched. There's one, arguably the best ruckman of all time, and Nick Natanui. jumping all over you, it's not going to be a good night. But, it's one of those things where when Ben Reid is available, I can't see how both of those ruckmen can play. Because Jesse White shouldn't be removed. I think he should be the second ruckman. And I'll blow that trumpet for a while. Because I just think we'll have so much versatility with him around the ball, him as a resting ruckman as opposed to either Witts or Grundy. But I don't know. It's fascinating. I mean, I even want to talk about, just quickly, Patrick Karnezis. This is a guy who's now kicking bags in the VFL. He might not be AFL ready fitness-wise, but would there be a harm in bringing him in this week, trying him against St Kilda for one of the ruckmen, going a slightly smaller forward line?
Yeah, I'd say definitely. As long as he's not really underdone.
Yeah.
He's been running out games in the VFL, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, 6 goals this week.
Yeah, he kicked 6, I heard that, but I haven't really seen a whole lot of games, so have you seen them? Has he been running out games? Or
look, I think he's probably running out a good 3.5 quarters. He still needs that fitness base. He missed most of the pre-season.
Yeah. We'll bring him on as a sub.
Yeah. I mean, look...
I'll say this with the utmost respect for the Saints, but, we've got an easy kill coming up. Bring him on, and ease him into it,
Gee, I hope you're right. But look, my thing with the ruck situation is, eventually 2 of those 3 will play, Grundy, Witts and White, and one will come out for Reid. One has to. I see Witts, unfortunately, being the first sacrificial lamb, for no other reason than just because... for Reid, and for no other reason than just because I think the club really wants to get behind Brodie and push his development up, but...
And you think now with Brown out for the year that Reid won't be able to be a swingman as much? He'll have to play in the back line.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
necessity.
It's an option now. It all really depends on now how Keith comes back from his demotion to the VFL. I mean, if he holds up, that's brilliant. Again, we know Maxwell's playing well. Langdon is unexpected. Unexpectedly doing well. Tuvey is Tuvey, and if Goldsack can go back, those guys could hold it. This is the thing; it's really about an area of priority for Collingwood right now. What do we need more in? And personally, I think we need Reid in the forward line, just because, we're not efficient down there. We're not effective at all.
Yeah, we're not. But for mine, I think he is our best defender by a long, long way, and I really think he should be. People that have seen it in the forums, I've been banging on about this. So, all year he really has to play in the back line, and as a surprise move, send him forward. I don't get the calls to have him come back as a forward first. Like I said, especially with Brownie out now, I think he really, really has to be picked as a defender, and if circumstances have it that he pinch hits forward, then that's how you do it. But definitely a defender first, I think.
Well, I want to talk about someone else who I think should be picked as a forward before a defender, and that's Alex Fasolo. Now, we spoke before about forward structure, and I talked about a lack of creativity, a complete predictability going forward. Alex Fasolo is the most natural forward we have, and he has a goal sense that I think is unrivaled at our club at the moment. It's natural, it's instinctive. I liked him going back because I liked him getting touches. He's a half-decent kick. And for those of you who haven't watched the Eagles game, don't watch that because that'll just destroy my point. But, he got one solid opportunity to grab the ball and he snapped true. This is the kind of stuff that we can see from Fass. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. He started out, a couple of good games off the back line.
Yeah.
Out the back line with providing a bit of run.
Yeah.
But he had a bit of a stinker against the Eagles.
Yeah.
As people who watched the game would have seen, Maxie give him a nice little roundhouse to the back.
That was brilliant.
Yeah. I thought it was good too. I've seen a lot of people, say that's not on and blah blah blah. And
I think
it's like, mate, if you've got a former captain and someone who's controlling the back line, saying pull your head out of your ass and get in the game, good on him.
People are comparing it unnecessarily. People are comparing it unnecessarily to Heath Shaw, when he used to just berate half the back line, and I think he had a go at his GWS defenders. It's different. This is a Nick Maxwell's a bona fide leader of our football club. He's a former captain. If he thinks you need to pull your finger out, fuck, you're going to listen, That's how it's got to be. And if that's how he's going to show his leadership and get his point across, well, so be it.
Yeah. I've never seen him sort of do that ever before, so he really must have been
fired up.
Stuff that Faz was doing. Obviously he wasn't sticking to team structures in the back line and wasn't doing the team thing. So, for him to sort of get that upset and do that, mate, more power to him. Good on him.
Look, the Faz hasn't got a defensive bone in his body. Look, we've known it. That's how he is. He's not built that way. So I think all thought of him being an accountable defender is a little bit fanciful. So look, my hope is that Buckley's now seen the light. We've got enough guys who can play defensive roles. To come back into the side. I know Sinclair's injured again, but we've got enough guys to use the ball out of defence, like Searsman, Clinton Young, Lamumba. Tommy Langdon didn't have a great game on the weekend, I thought. Actually, what were your thoughts on his game? Because I thought he was just okay.
On Langdon's?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't a standout, but he wasn't noticed, so
yeah,
that's fine. He means he didn't stink it up. But
that's right. He certainly stays, but
and you're going to get that. I think us, as with the young group that we've got, I'm expecting the guys like Keith had a terrible one last week.
Yeah.
Maybe even Frosty. I'm expecting him to drop off. Langdon. These young kids can't keep up that level of play that they've been producing. They're not going to keep that up all year. They're going to burn out. So, we need to rest them. Sort of play. Rotate them through the VFL. And give him a bit of a rest from the intensity of AFL level. And, if he has a quiet one here and there and we still get the win, that's fine.
No, look, let's switch gears and have a look at the St Kilda game for this week. The easy kill, as you have deemed it.
That's it. I'm touching wood right now.
Look,
I should clarify that. It's the bit heavier is made of wood, yes.
Absolutely. You know what? Let me tell you something. The St Kilda Football Club, I'd like to congratulate them on their good start to the season. But this week is going to be, without a shadow of a doubt, a reality check. I mean, welcome back to the world that you are going to be exposed to in the next 18 months, because you guys are going to hit the ground harder than not any team, because we're looking at Brisbane. No, any team in recent memory. They have still got to lose Nick Rewalt, Lenny Hayes, Lee Montagna. Sam Fisher, I don't think, has played much this year, but this is over 1,000 games of experience to come out of your club. You have nothing. Nothing St Kilda.
They're in a similar spot to the Blues. I was looking through Carlton's team list, their third oldest list in the comp, and all their match winners are 27, 28 and above, so they're buggered. Saints are in the exact same boat. It's going to be hard times in the next few years, back to the bad old 80s for them. And I hope we kick it off on Friday night.
Absolutely.
Track it for them.
Well, what annoys me about clubs like this, and it's mismanagement of a list. We even saw it with just looking at the Dogs. Have a look at the Dogs list. Look at their key position players, and we'll get to this in the Dogs podcast at some point. But Tom Williams isn't a key defender's jockstrap, and the less I say about Liam Jones, the better. And it's the same thing with St Kilda. I mean, they spent years trying to develop Gwilt into a defender. They've got that Delaney character that they picked up from North Melbourne, who couldn't put together 22 fit players if they tried, right? Who are these guys? You have to, sometimes as a team, you've got to make a sacrifice and go out and pick up a big name and try and get something big into your team. The Saints have been wallowing around that 9th spot, and they'll probably be around. No, they'll probably be about 13th this year. But finishing higher up on the ladder last year, did them no favours whatsoever. And you know what? Their fall is going to be quick. This weekend is going to be a kill. Who's going to come in for? I think Frost will be okay. Who's coming in for Brown, and who's going out of the side or into the side in general, in your opinion?
Keith comes back in, doesn't he?
He's got to come back in, yeah.
I can't even believe he got dropped. I know he had a stinker against the Crows, but he's been pretty good all year. And one bad game where the Crows were up, they were fantastic all game, and you saw the way they played against Carlton. There was none of that ferocious tackling. There was none of the intensity that they had against us. Sloan was nowhere near it. he was against us. Who else? Bloody J-Pod loves playing against us, the mongrel. He was almost unsighted in the game.
Yeah.
So, it was just one out of the box. And, Keith got, a bit flustered, and the ball was always coming through him. When you're having a terrible day, the ball always seems to come to you and go through you.
Yep.
That's just the way it went for him on the night. So I thought he was a bit stiff to get dropped. I think they should have stuck with him one more week, and I look, excuse me, I see him coming back in for Brownie this week.
Look, I called for his head. I called for his head purely because, it was one of those things where, it was a poor game. He really let Jenkins take control of him. More to the point, I didn't think Brownie had done anything wrong at the start of the year or in the VFL. And, it's one of those things, I remember Mick Malthouse saying, you leave a player in the VFL for too long and they become accustomed to that level of football. I think it was important to expose Brownie to senior football again. Bad luck, he's subluxed his shoulder and he's gone for the year. I mean, you can't have known that. But look, I obviously Keith comes back in. He has been playing well this year, with the exception of that game. With the exception of that change, it's one of those things. We've gotten the win. A lot of players didn't play well, and I find myself struggling to pick who I drop. And the name that comes to mind is actually, first of all, it's Jesse White. I feel like he's almost not been gifted a spot on the side because he hasn't played a lot of great games for us this year, and maybe a swap out for him to bring in a Karnezis, or at least try that, or at least try something different that forward line. This should be a week that we can experiment a little bit.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there. For me, it'd probably be Grundy, purely because just give him a rest.
Yeah.
He's been sort of punching out of his weight division all year. And he's held his own, and in a few occasions won his matchup. So I'd give the young lad a rest and go with White and Witts, as I said earlier. I think in the last quarter there, when Bucks put White in the ruck, we were instantly better. So he's only going to be facing Billy Longer, and I say only, once again, with great respect. But he's not Nick Nanui and Dean Cox. So, we have Witts and White up against Billy Longer. Fantastic.
The other change that I'd suggest, and it was probably isn't a popular one, but I think it's, we picked up Taylor Adams for a reason, and that was to play as an inside midfielder.
Yeah.
It's time to give him an opportunity to do that. Bring him in, and I say at the expense of Luke Ball. He's a harder runner than Luke Ball is at the moment. He's not going to have the same pressure and maybe the impact, but if this guy's going to legitimately replace Ball as our central cog in midfield, as our clearance king, he's got to start playing that role. He's not an outside midfielder. He's not a half forward. Get him in the gut and let's see what the kid can do.
Yeah, he does. And a lot of times this year I've looked and sort of felt sorry for Luke Ball. I think the game's gone past him a little bit, but he was really, really good last week. He was really good. And in small patches you see that he's still got it, but. And then there's a lot of other times where, as I said, you sort of look and he's just too slow, or can't get to too slow running away, too slow getting to a contest. He's age is just unfortunately catching up with him. And I agree with you. Probably as harsh as it would be to drop him, I think in these situations, drop him, put the young lad in Adams, and if he gets. I keep saying easy kill, if he has a really good game against a softer opponent, then that's going to be a little bit of confidence for him.
Absolutely.
So that's why you probably bring these guys in, and I agree with you, bring in Karnezis, get him in, hopefully he kicks a couple of goals. He's been doing really well at VFL level, so...
It's just about giving these guys a chance. Like sometimes you've got to reward form, In 2010... Jarryd Blair was the standout for us in the VFL. You reward form, and he became a premiership player for us. You've got to go with it. Form is really important. It's king. And if we're not going to test these guys on the highest level, then they're just filling a bit of space on our list. So let's see what the young lad can do. I reckon that's probably about all we've got time for at the moment for this week. But thanks for joining me, Get Some Nuts. This is going to be a very fun partnership.
Yeah, it will be, mate. Looking forward to it.
Thanks
Had a speed bump last week with the laptop stuffing up, but hopefully it's plain sailing from here on out.
We're back on track now. Thanks everyone for joining us in the Nut House. We'll see you next week.
Hello, welcome to David the Man's round 11 rant for the Collingwood BigFooty podcasts. And one thing I want to talk about is the umpiring from last Saturday's game against the West Coast Eagles. Well, we won a fantastic game, next to the Royal win, because we had Frost out and Brown out, two key defenders against the powerful Eagles. And we won the game by 8 points, which is fantastic. But the umpiring in the second and quarter was, I had to say, bordering on cheating. And which was one of the rules that really stuck out to me was prior opportunity. Quite a few players had priors opportunity to get rid of the ball, but no free kick or tackling out of the ruck. Did the Cox and New did it once or twice. Never pinned. And also just tackling him. The team should just be earning free kicks. I don't want to get a free kick for holding the ball or dropping the ball. There's no such thing as if you drop the ball, no free kick, no incorrect disposal. The only way you get a pin behind the ball if it's on the ground and three guys are on you. Then it's a free kick. We'll play next week. We'll play St Kilda on Friday night, so we should have an easy win, but you can never ever say that's true, but have to get up and win. Bye.